there's a lot that can be done and should be done. Of course, we'll wait to see what transpires in the Security Council today. The ideal situation would be for the Security Council to take some action, to take coordinated action. I think that there is a clear need, and I've been recommending that there be a coordinated international response that applies significant pressure on the military junta to, first of all, stop the violence, stop the killing of innocent people, and then secondly to stand down from its coup. But the first step, obviously, is to stop the mass murder of Myanmar people. It obviously remains to be seen what the Security Council will do today. They've issued statements in the past. They've condemned the violence, and we'll see what happens today. But I think that clearly the people of Myanmar, they're showing extraordinary courage, tenacity, creativity. This movement is extraordinary, nationwide, very broad, very deep. It encompasses people from every age range, every socioeconomic group, every ethnicity, every religion. Of course, Generation Z are on the forefront of this. CDM movement has been remarkably successful, and they have a very, very strong base of support. So I don't think the generals underestimated just how strong the views and feelings would be of the Myanmar people, and how broad and deep that opposition would be. So ultimately, the fate of Myanmar is in the hands of the Myanmar people. But they should be able to expect support from the international community, particularly in light of the brutality that we're seeing in front of our very eyes. The Security Council would be the ideal forum for there to be action. Coordinated sanctions. Right now, there are literally dozens of different economic sanctions regimes from different countries, over 40 of them. I think what's important is for there to be coordination of these sanctions so that they link up to have the greatest possible impact on the junta, which it's kind of a hodgepodge, if you will, right now. Secondly, I think that in addition to cutting off revenue streams that are enabling the junta, both in terms of individual sanctions, but also business sanctions and business conglomerate sanctions, including the oil and gas area, which of course provides the largest single source of revenue for the junta. In addition to cutting those off, of course, cutting off access to weapons would be very important. And then being able to move this forward to a judicial process whereby investigations could occur, prosecutions could occur in the International Criminal Court, that those who are responsible for atrocities will be held accountable.
You advocated from the start for tough sanctions. Do you think there should have been an earlier movement on tougher sanctions now?
Yes, I don't think this is the time to be concerned about the sensibilities of the junta leaders. That they have clearly shown their cards. This brutality is. I mean, we're now over 500 dead. Their troops are now marauding through neighborhoods. It's not just, first where they're going to, use utmost restraint with the protesters. Then they started to, shoot them with rubber bullets and water cannons. Then they started shooting them with live rounds. Then on Friday, they announced that they're going to warning young people that they could be shot in the head and the back. And then 24 hours later, in fact, people are killed, being shot in the head and the back. So this is people getting killed in their homes. These marauding troops going through neighborhoods, destroying property, shooting randomly at people, shooting into homes. Enough is enough. We've seen they have shown their hand. There seems to be no end to the level of brutality that they're capable of and willing to take. So therefore, there's compelling reason for the international community to be doing everything that it can to act, not incrementally, but let's take all of the tools that we know that exist, diplomatic, economic, political, and let's bring them to bear, because the fact is that the junta is showing no restraint in terms of their brutality. Therefore, I believe it reasonable for the international community to show a maximum effort to coordinate their sources of leverage and to apply those sources of leverage as quickly and as forcefully as possible.
Could you speak to what China should be doing, or what kind of leverage China has, and what it can do in the coming weeks?
Well, China obviously has a great influence on developments in the region. Certainly, Myanmar is a neighbor. China has a great deal of interest in stability in its neighborhood. It is not in the interest for there to be a conflagration right over the border. And China has made statements. It has made it clear this is not at all what they would like to see happening in Myanmar. They have criticized the violence. They have called for the release of political prisoners. So Myanmar needs to have clear messages sent to it. And I think the most effective messages can come from the region and from the neighbors of Myanmar. So with China identifying publicly these concerns, public concerns, I'm hoping that there are also expressions privately behind the scenes, but from China and also from ASEAN nations to the military junta, that could make it very clear that they need to stop this violence.
As the protesters are seeking, some kind of R2P action, has a threshold been crossed for countries considered something like that?
Well, I clearly the standard for the responsibility to protect is clearly there. I mean, the standard is if the government of a country is unable or unwilling to protect the health and safety of people whose lives are in jeopardy, then the international community has an obligation to step forward. So yes, I think the threshold has been crossed. I think that concerted international action is necessary, because without it, I think that we could see even greater loss of life and greater suffering inside of Myanmar.
Has the CDM, had an effect on the way the junta has conducted itself?
I think it's just remarkable. It's been just remarkable to see the level of courage, tenacity, and creativity of the CDM movement. I mean, I saw that the junta just fired 120 of your colleagues in the media that are working in state media in Myanmar for joining the CDM movement. Private banks are closed, limitations on how much money can be taken out from public banks. The CDM movement is having a remarkable impact, and I think it's the diversity and creativity of the various tactics that are used, strategies that are used to manifest opposition in ways that are clear, noticeable, effective, and can undermine the ability of the junta to control the population. People inside are asking legitimately, well, then how can we get support from outside as well? I mean, we're putting our lives on the line. We're able to and willing to withstand hardship on the ground by virtue of the civil disobedience movement. They're obviously undergoing great risk. It's reasonable for them to be asking for support coming from the outside as well. The outside support is not there's not a magic wand that anybody has outside of the country. Again, the fate of the country rests with people inside, but it seems to me very reasonable for them to be seeking support and engagement from the outside world to support them and their very courageous, tenacious efforts.